Hey everybody, how's it going? I've spent a lot of time building up a business that is stable, that is successful, that is able to run and do well and sustain itself in the middle of a depression and worldwide pandemic. And that took a lot, pretty much my entirety of my 20s and my late teenage years. And I'm very happy with that. What I'd like to do with my 30s is focus a little more on some other things. And part of that I mentioned in a previous video where I said that I'd like to start a repair industry trade association. There are four things that I'm looking to accomplish with this trade association. And all of these things, every last one of them, is one where I'm going to require a lot of your help. And it's not going to be monetary help, it's not going to be money, it's going to be your time, your counsel, your advice. And I am incredibly grateful for all of it. I'm going to be focusing on one particular aspect in this video where I could use your help if you are open to lending it. So the first thing that I'd like to get done is providing more educational materials to people who are starting out in the field. Anyone who's starting out in the field knows that the one thing that's keeping you from working on a certain device may be, how do I do it properly? Well, to do that, what you need to do if there's no guide online on how to do it properly is purchase it at retail or purchase a used device and experiment on it and learn how to work on it on your own before you start working on it for customers, which means an upfront investment. And these upfront investments get very, very expensive, especially if you have to break the device 2 or 3 times before you figure out how to not break it. When the new MacBook Air came out, how to replace the screen on it when they first came out in 2010 with that model where the screen and the backlight and all that is built into the display assembly rather than just being one screen part. Almost everybody broke that or screwed it up or at least got a couple of scratches on it the first one they worked on. There are people who will do guides, but they'll either do a guide with the camera in the corner zoomed out with techno music playing, or a lot of these guides will happen where, like, I don't want to rag on iFixit. I like iFixit, but like they tell you how to replace the display assembly. That was not economically viable when the machine came out and the screen assemblies were over $500. I would like to encourage people who create guides that are similar to mine and also support the people that make those guides that are similar to mine in their niche field in the industry to share their information. And I want to start trying to work towards a culture of people sharing their information, of realizing that we all work better together than we do if every one of us hides and hoards little aspects of how to do business. I think the fact that for the past 7 years I've been sharing every single aspect of how we do business and how to do the repairs that we do, and my business has grown rather than shrunk, serves as a piece of proof, evidence that this is not going to destroy your business. But a lot of people are still convinced that it will, and I'd like for this organization to really work to encourage people to release more, because the more information there is out there on how to properly repair many of these devices, the easier it's going to be for businesses to add those services to their business and then increase their bottom line and do better as repair shops, pay their employees more, and satisfy their customers. The second thing I'd like to do with this trade organization is try to get right to repair advocacy outside of r/videos on Reddit / comment section and my YouTube subscribers. I am genuinely grateful that there are, at least according to YouTube, 1.23 million people that are following what I do. I am very grateful that people on Reddit and / comment sections understand what right to repair is and that it's important. Thank you for being here. However, there are hundreds of millions of people that have absolutely no idea that this is an issue until they go to, have something done on maybe their new electric car, or they take their laptop or mobile device or their tractor to a shop and they can't get it fixed, or they want to work on it on their own. It's only then, after the fact, that they understand it's an issue once it's too late. I want to get this to be a mainstream issue that normal people that don't follow this stuff care about. The third thing that I'd like to do is I would like to help people who are lobbying on their own behalf or lobbying on behalf of their business, and really kind of coach them on how to get their senators, congresspeople, and assembly people and so on and so forth to care about this as an issue. I'd like to organize the people that are doing this in particular geographic locations so that when there is a hearing in an area, I am not the only person in that area that showing up for that cause. And the fourth thing that I'd like to do is get rid of this bullshit lobbyist talking point that we are an industry without standards or certifications. And this is where I'm focusing on in this video. This is the point where I could really use your help. So there's this idea that we don't have standards or certifications, that independent repair, you might as well just be giving your device to some random bum off the street that just stabs it and has your battery explode. And I'm really sick and tired of that talking point, particularly since the companies that are doing this type of warranty work, from the emails that I've received when you're talking about, like CSAT Solutions doing work for Apple, they will have virtually anybody with little to no experience working on customer devices. But technically, they do have certifications and standards. So it's okay that someone that makes $12 an hour that, has to wait in line when they have one bathroom for 500 or so people. Anyway. I would like to create those standards and certifications. To create a certification, you need to have standards. We need standards. And I have a lot of standards for my company. I also have a lot of standards in my head that admittedly I haven't committed to paper, but we all know what they are, and we are working on committing those to paper. Lots of times when I talk about certifications or the CompTIA A+ and how CompTIA was lobbying against right to repair, there are a lot of people in my comment section that have been saying this for years. I would pay for a Rossmann certification. I'd be proud to have a Rossmann certification. And I would like to create a trade association that has a framework for actually certifying people to standards, but standards that matter, not standards that don't. We're not going to be asking you how many fucking FireWire 400 devices you can daisy chain in fucking 2020. We're not CompTIA. We're going to be certifying that you deal with customers to a high standard of quality, that you are able to keep track of devices that are given to your business, that parts of devices, that SSDs are not going to go missing from devices, that you're not going to mix up phone housings and motherboards when you take them out of the case, that you're going to be doing your WeWork properly. And someone actually sent me this. They sent me a link to a bunch of the Air Force standards for working on devices, and I went through it and I actually found an entire chapter on liquid damage repair. This stuff is immensely helpful. This is something that I am going to need you to help me with. I'm going to have an ask of you, and then I'm also going to have a question as to how I could do it better. So the first ask that I have of you is, if you have these types of company standards committed to paper and you're not really at that junior point of your business where it's all just in your head and you're explaining it to people and hoping they catch on, are you open to sharing those with us, and would you email them to hi@rossmanngroup.com? Here, I'm not going to ask you to show you yours without me showing you mine. So you're going to I'll show mine first before you show me yours. I'll show you just a little bit of like some of my guides and some kind of stuff like that I have here. This one here isn't so much standards as much as it is kind of a guide for socially awkward people that work in the tech industry to have a bit of a better understanding of how to deal with customers. So let's just take one very often one that I'm sure it's occurred at every small repair shop, where someone picks up the phone who's really good at tech, kind of socially awkward, and they need to give status on a ticket, but there's no status update on that ticket yet because you haven't figured out the problem yet. So since the last time you spoke to the customer, you have made no progress, and you don't have an actual status update to give them, which is going to cause them to be probably somewhat aggravated with you. So how can you phrase this better if you're a socially awkward person who's not good dealing with people? So when people ask for status, what customers say over the phone, what they actually think or feel, what they could care less about, what you don't want to tell them, and then what you actually tell them. So let's kind of go over this. So they say, what's the status of my device? What they actually think or feel, anxious, worry, doubt. What would they tell me? Maybe I shouldn't have brought it to these guys. Maybe they just put it aside and are not really working on it. Here's what you should not tell them. We are currently testing whether it's C7050 or C7020 that keeps your device from charging in the ISL 6259 current sensing circuit of your 8202936 board, but we have not yet determined which it is. Technically, that is the status. 99% of the time, they're going to want to punch you in the face with a phone. What you don't want to tell them, currently your device is in our queue and will be worked on soon. So you probably have numerous devices on your desk as a technician that you may be working on at any given time, and while that is the case, they don't really want to hear that they're in a pile on your desk like that. That's the reality at every repair shop in the country, and it's going to end with the person on the other end of the phone actually growing a wound on their head like this one that Aryan wrote on here when he was drawing this up for me. What you do say is something like this. Hey, looks like we're in the process of addressing the liquid damage. We should have an answer for you shortly. Liquid damage can be a nightmare, so let's hope for the best. So the first thing is it doesn't lie. if it's on my desk or I'm working on it, technically it's part of the process. You don't want to lie and say, "Oh yeah, it's almost done," when you don't know if that's it. What if you need a replacement SMC? What if there's a hole under the SMC because there's 16 volts went to the data line on this or something like that? You don't want to lie, so don't say it's going to be ready soon. Be honest. The second thing you want to do is answer their question before they ask, because they're going to want to say, "Well, when is it done?" So you say, working on it, we should have an answer for you shortly. Shortly is a time, but it's also non-committal. So if it takes you 45 minutes or an hour or 3 hours, it's still the same answer. And the third is you're going to give them something to do. So they're going to, "So what do I do now?" So if you say something along the lines of, "Well, we're working on it." "Well, will it be done?" "I'm not sure." "What do I do?" You really want to avoid that, and the way you avoid it is saying, "Hey, looks like we're in the process of addressing your liquid damage. We should have an answer for you shortly." Liquid damage can be a bit of a nightmare in this model, so let's hope for the best. You're going to give them something to do. You drive the conversation by making them less anxious by putting an actionable end to the conversation. This is what you tell them, then you're happy, they're happy, and you have a green thumbs up. Just little things like this. This is not a standard per se. This is just kind of a tip if you're socially awkward on how to deal with that phone call of, "Oh crap, they asked for status yesterday. I still haven't figured out why it's not working, and I don't have anything to tell them that's going to make them happy. I told them it would take a week. We're only 3 days into it, so I don't know why they're calling yet, but Here's how you can take a phone call that would end in a 1-star review and them being pissed to them not being pissed. And it's just, I have a bunch of little things like this, and I'd like to publish as much of this as humanly possible. And what I'm really more interested in here than guides is standards. But anything that you have to submit, I am more than happy to look through, and I would genuinely appreciate it as a base for what it is that I'm working on. I'd like to produce something along with the help of other trusted people in the industry. We're going to work back and forth, hammer it out with each other, ask for input from the community, and we'd like to make this available at no charge to the community. General standards and guidelines on how to run a proper repair business. So you know how if you go to Ubreak iFix or CPR, another play, or I don't know, iFix and fuck up or iFix and repair, whatever the fuck they call themselves now, they will give you a book or standards or a guide on how to run a business in the repair industry in exchange for you paying their franchise fee or giving them a percentage of your profits. I'd like to create something like that that's actually better and make it free at the point of consumption to anybody who wants to view it. And I'd also like for this material that we create to be material that customers can view as well. So for instance, some basic stuff like if you are storing customer devices that can be scratched, store them in a shelf that is like this, not a shelf made of that, so that they don't scratch when you move them in and out of the shelf. If you are going to take this machine and separate it into pieces when the machine moves around the shop, in these particular cases, the entire machine has to move around the shop, not the top of it there and the bottom of it there. If you're going to separate the SSD from it, take a little piece of artist tape and just write the ticket number on it so that if that thing does get misplaced, you know which machine it goes to. If you're separating the housing from the phone from the actual phone, or the housing from the phone from the board, put a label on it so that you don't wind up in a situation like my friend Jessa was the other day, where she visits a repair shop that actually could use her help with something, and the guy is incapable of showing her the board that he's having an issue with because he took 3 boards out of the housing for 3 phones that all look the same, and they don't turn on because they're dead, so he can't plug them into 3 utils to get data, and he doesn't know which one is which. That's the kind of thing that should be a standard. I'd like to create standards for working on the devices, how to handle devices that are in your shop, how to do proper liquid damage repair and inspections. I want this to be the type of thing to where when a customer views our standards, they feel more comfortable going to a shop that has been certified by this trade association than a shop that has been authorized by the manufacturer. They believe that they're going to get a better result because they can actually see the standards that we hold ourselves to. This is something that I am asking for your help and contributing to. No matter what standards I come up with for my own business or the businesses of the people that I know that work in this industry, it will never be as good as it will be if I have input from hundreds of thousands of people who watch this channel, many of whom have successful businesses in the industry, and have them contribute to this list. And If you have suggestions as to what should be included, or suggestions as to how to go about organizing this, I am also all ears to your suggestions. I would like for this to be a project that makes Mr. Clinton the cat here proud. He's staring at me and he's putting his paw over my wrist because he wants me to pet him, so... What I'd like to do is create a list of standards that we certify people to, but also, in addition and separate from that, a list of best practices and tips on how to deal with running this type of business. Now, when you look at places like CPR, YouBreak, iFix, etc., there are many franchises out there where if you buy into their franchise, they will then give you all the information on how to run a successful business. What I'd like to do is I would like to make all of this kind of stuff available for free to anybody at any time and open to improvement as everybody from the community contributes to it. And I'd like for this to be pretty much openly available. I'd like for people to have a general sense of calm that when they go to an unauthorized shop, if they're going to an unauthorized shop that is certified by this trade association, that their device is in better hands than if it was with the actual OEM. This is a very ambitious project. This is an ambitious trade association idea that I'm taking on, but I would like to move forward with it. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, but above all, it's going to require a lot of help. So if you have any type of standards material that you would like to share, if you believe that you've cracked how to run a perfect shop, you probably have information in your guides that Jessa and myself and Justin and other people that I know that run good shops don't have in theirs. And if you'd like to share it, if you're open to sharing it, I would highly appreciate an email sent to hi@rossmangroup.com with it. I am in the very, very early stages of this idea. I don't have a website set up for it yet. I don't have everything else set up for it yet, but it is an idea that I am taking seriously and moving forward on, and I would like to be able to accomplish what hasn't been accomplished yet in this industry, and what we do accomplish for this, and what we do accomplish for this industry, I want to make available to all for free at no cost for the individual who is consuming the resources. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something, and thank you very much for your help.